Good morning from the Nature Company. Today we're going to be teaching you a little bit about the problems you may have with your orchids, especially with regards to fungal attacks. We're going to show you how to identify what the different fungal problems are and how to treat them. So we'll start off with just identifying each different fungus and then watch all the way through to the end so you can see what the best forms of treatment are going to be. First, we're going to start off with anthracnose. Yeah, it generally starts at the tips of the leaves, running backwards. So you'll land up with a brown mark to light grey as it travels through the back of the leaf. It can form this necrotic tissue as it infects the leaf. You see it's quite well defined, easy to identify. It can also start off as these concentric rings that form on your leaf that will infect larger areas and it will cause it to drop off early. This disease is a common problem where your orchid's not getting enough light. We'll go through all the treatments just now. Okay, one of the other problematic fungi is the fusarium wilt. Here you can see the leaves start getting thin, they start drying up. It's as if, although you're watering your plant, the plant's not able to take up water and the leaves just seem to dry out. But there's a reason for this. The fusarium affects the vascular system of the plant, thus stopping it from being able to take up water and nutrients through the roots. As you can see here, this is a highly infected plant. Already the pseudobulbs have started to go purple, and in most cases this plant would just be destroyed, thrown in the rubbish bin to make sure that there's no chance of infection. A reason a plant landed up like this was from poor sanitation. So remember, sanitize your equipment. After every cut, sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Okay, this is a 70% alcohol solution. You can also use a flame, whichever's easier. Okay, now what we're going to do to show you where the infection is, if you cut through, you can see if this is left untreated, it will kill your plant. So we can either cut back until we find no more infection in the vascular system, i.e. no more of the pink or purple outline around the vascular system, and then throw that section away that is infected and keep the uninfected and then treat that. Another very troublesome fungus is black rot. This is highly contagious. So unless it's a very important plant of yours or a high value plant, rather just throw it away, because this is going to spread like wildfire through all your orchids, and it doesn't matter what type of orchid it is, it's going to attack. So black rot, be careful. Okay, now we're going to work our way through the leaf spots. These are all funguses which produce these ugly blotches and spots all over your leaves, and you're not sure what to do with your plants. So now we're going to go through identifying them, teaching you how to treat them. So here we can see this has got purple blackish marks that lead up along the veins of the plant, producing these diamond shapes and this almost light brown tannish color in the center. Here also you'll notice how they all seem to be along parallel lines along the veins, all these little triangular markings, diamond shapes with this tan coloring in the center. This tan coloring is then going to get little black spore heads on it, and that's going to reinfect all your other plants. Okay, so this is Gennardia, but now we have Phyllosticta. But here we can see the markings are rounder, more oval, and you'll notice how they go almost black with a thin center. It's as if it's eaten away the center of the leaf, leaving these black marks. And this is just going to slowly spread through your plant, going to cause early leaf drop, and is very unsightly. Can also affect the pseudobulbs. So this you've got to look for. The initial phase is the small yellow sunken dots that will start to appear on your leaves, and then you know treatment. So don't let this get out of control. Catch it early and you will not have to decimate your poor plants trying to get them back into good health. Another one is your Cercospora. Here we see on the cattleya how it forms these small dots. It starts off as a yellow dot on the underside of the leaf and quickly shows up on the top as a black spot, and how it produces all these small black dots around it that slowly coalesce into larger irregular markings. Here too we can see starting off as the yellow dots as they increase into the bigger black dark spots. As they extend, you can see this like yellow halo that seems to be around the outside. This is just the disease spreading further, infecting more of the leaf. Also going to cause early leaf drop and is unsightly on your plant and needs to be fixed for your plant to get back into health and flower properly. In the thicker leaves, such as in the Cattleya, these dark spots eventually become necrotic, and that's also an easy spot for bacteria and such to get in. We want to treat these poor orchids before they're killed. The last common leaf spot is septoria. This one also starts off as small yellow dots that appear either on the underside or on the top side of the leaf, and then as they get older they age to these brown spots and then become these irregular markings, and they also produce this yellowing that will spread across the leaf. See how the leaf becomes soggy and mushy at the ends and cause early leaf drop. So now that you can identify the problems with your plant, on how to treat them and get them back into good health. And remember, sanitize your equipment. We don't want to spread your fungus into uninfected plants. Okay, on to treatment of your leaf spot. These you're all going to treat in much the same manner. Initially we're going to remove all the old infected leaves. I know this can leave your plant quite bare, but it's going to save it in the long run. So we're going to remove all the old infected leaves and then treat it with a systemic fungicide. So we're either going to use triphenate methyl, which is known as epoxiconazole in South Africa, or terbuconazole. So these are systemic fungicides. It's going to be drawn up into the plant and kill anything from the inside. It will have a residual effect, so it will help protect your plants for a while. But again, after 2 weeks or so, we're going to treat it with contact fungicide afterwards to spray the outside in case any other spores have germinated. And those we're going to either use a chlorothalonil or mancozeb. That's just to give your heavily infected plants a chance of recovering. And to help prevent leaf spot from occurring on your plants, you need good sanitization, you need good air movement, and reduced watering on the leaves. So if you can reduce your watering on the leaves and keep your air movement good, you should be relatively safe. But in areas where your climate makes your plants susceptible, you're going to have to use preventative treatments. Best to use some of the organic products such as a lime sulfur. If you can't stand the scent of lime sulfur, then use something like a neem oil or paraffinic oil, something like that, just to reduce the occurrence of them during seasons where they will be susceptible. And note with your lime sulfur, don't then use an oil product soon afterwards. They're going to have a chemical reaction which is going to be phytotoxic, and that's going to do just as much damage to your leaves as what the fungus is going to do. So give it at least 30 days after using a lime sulfate if you're going to be using any of the other oil products. You can still feed, but don't treat. Now with your black rot again, remember immediately as soon as you notice it, it's spread up from the roots through your pseudobulbs and along your rhizome. Isolate it immediately if it's an important orchid, or throw it away because this is going to spread like wildfire. If you need to save your orchid, cut off the uninfected plant and dip it into one of the systemic fungicides and plant it up separately in fresh media, fresh pot. Make sure all your equipment and your surfaces have been sanitized before and after, and then keep it isolated until you can see that it's free of the disease and the new plant has taken root and is looking healthy again. With fusarium, we're going to be cutting it back until we've only got parts where you can see the vascular system has no longer been infected. So just keep cutting back until you no longer see the pinkish or purplish tinge around the outer edge of the rhizome, and then treat that remaining section with a systemic fungicide and throw the other pieces in the bin. With all your infected parts of plants that you're dealing with, throw them in the bin. Don't put them into the compost heap so that you can lessen your chance of reoccurrence of the diseases. With your anthracnose, also remove infected parts of the leaves and use a systemic fungicide. Again, after 2 weeks, use a contact fungicide and you should be mostly free. But as again, in areas where you find you susceptible, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure when it comes to fungus. So preventative measures, if you can stand the smell, lime sulfur is a good product to use, but it can be quite hectic on the nose. This will help with thrips and mites as well as being a preventative measure for fungus. The neem oil. And the paraffinic oils are also a good product to use as preventative measures. It helps disrupt the fungal sporing bodies and reducing the spread of the disease. And if you've already got an infection and you need to start curing your plants, then here's just two of the products. The Aureus is the turbuconazole. In the US, these are Elite, Aureus, and Turbazole. In South Africa, it's the Aureus, Folicure, and Lynx. One of the contact ones is the chlorothalonil. This is banned in the EU, but available in the US under the names Bravo, Ecto. Available in the US under the names Bravo, Echo, and Daconol. South Africa, we use Odeon, Bravo, and Matrix. So these are just some of the products in your arsenal to get rid of the fungus. But remember, fungi have the ability to become immune to the fungicides. So please rotate your fungicidal use. So if you're using one product, try and rotate between 3 different ones so that you make sure you've gotten rid of all the fungus. So by the time you get back to using the initial product again, there's none that have been able to survive it and will learn to survive through your sprayings. Sanitization, ensuring your orchids have the best possible growing conditions, ensuring correct lighting, good air movement, correct watering. Temperature can play a really important part in the proliferation of fungus in your orchids. Anthracnose prefers higher temperatures with good humidity and lower light levels. So if you're able to increase your light levels, putting them in a spot where there's going to be more air movement that will help keep the temperatures lower, you should be able to treat it more easily and avoid it infecting your plants. And Giardia, if you are able to manage the light conditions of your plants, generally it's a sign that the light conditions are too low. So try and move your plants to brighter light conditions, which will reduce the infection rate of the fungus. So just a few tips and tricks to help you keep your orchids in tip-top condition, keep them blooming, flowering, and making you happy. We have extra content in the Buy Me a Coffee link down below. Thank you for watching. If you found any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. Help us grow as we help your orchids grow.